Hi, and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and joining me on this program is Forrest, who is the President and CEO of Destination Angels Camp. Anne, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you back. For those who don't know you, I would love for you to give a little bit of your history, a history that I find to be very interesting, especially some of your overseas activities. But let's go back to first where you grew up.
I grew up on the eastern shore of Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay, and then married and lived in a number of places on the east coast of the United States, plus California. Then went overseas in 1981, lived in Hong Kong and Asia for 25 years, and came back to the States and retired to Angels Camp.
What brought you west first from the East Coast?
Well, the first time was my former husband was in the Marines, so we were at Camp Pendleton, and first son was born there. And I loved California, so it was not hard to convince me to come back. I like the dry weather versus the humidity of the East Coast.
I don't even know what humidity feels like, but I hear it's just terrible.
It's terrible in the summer.
So it's easier to withstand 110 degrees of dry heat than even 90 degrees.
Absolutely.
Okay. The time you spent overseas, what was it that you were doing over there?
I was running an international public relations firm, and then I started my own company in 1991 and built that. We were working with corporate clients throughout Asia, from Indonesia to Japan, China.
And you did that for how many years? 24
years in Asia.
Wow.
So it was a very exciting period. That was the huge growth when China first opened up, and American companies came flooding into Asia, and Asian corporations got very large and started going out and listing on stock exchanges all over the world and that. So we represented mostly Asian corporate clients that were publicly listed companies.
Do you have a certain affinity for Asia still?
Oh, I do. And I have two daughters who are Asian, and two daughter-in-laws that are Asian, so yes.
Have you been back recently?
Yes, we were there in November.
How did you get convinced to leave that life and come to Calaveras County? Well,
I retired, and also my husband wanted to have a ranch and horses and cows and mend fences. So here we are, and he's doing that.
What did your husband do?
He was in public relations, and he was a former journalist for United Press International. And then he was in corporate public relations, and he ended up in Asia for Bank of America and the Federal Reserve Bank, and then joined me and my company, and then we became more than business partners.
I gotcha. What is it like as someone who ran her own company to come back into a quiet little sleepy town, which maybe is not going to be as sleepy as it once was? If you have anything to say about it, what is that transition like for you?
Well, it's very hard for anyone who's lived overseas for a long time to come back to the States to live. It's just a big transition, just as it is when you first go overseas. I was fortunate because we kept a home in Hong Kong, so we would spend 6 weeks here and 6 weeks there for the first couple years. But I grew up in a small town of 3,000 people, so here I am in Angels Camp. The hardest part was not working full-time, and so that lasted about a year and a half, and then I joined the Business Association and haven't looked back since then, and I cannot say that I am not busy, that I need something to do. I don't.
I want to go into that work that you're doing a little bit more, but I was curious, that transition from a foreign country back home, why is that so hard?
Well, you are, you're in a very different culture, and if you think about, for 24 years, I rarely saw American television. I was exposed to the thinking of people from all over the world who oftentimes, and the media, and oftentimes they don't think like Americans. I didn't know cliches and the in-jokes that come from advertisements that are on TV or that type of stuff. I was fascinated with the crime syndicated shows on TV for a long time, and just sat and watched those. But and also the other nice thing about living overseas in most countries is that you have help, you have support. So I had, a housekeeper, I had secretaries, I had everything, and then I came back here, and most people do everything on their own. So that was a big transition. Yeah.
Now that you are back, what is it that you like about the county?
Oh, I love the small town bit. I mean, I was standing on the corner today talking to somebody, and just about everybody that drove by or walked to the post office were all waving, and I thought, that's really, really nice. I mean, when you live in a large city, you tend to make a community of friends, and so I knew lots of people in Hong Kong, and they knew me, and I still go, when we go back there, people will just go, "Oh, hi Ann, good to see you," and they forget that it's been a year or two since I was there. But there's just something really nice and comforting about knowing a lot of people and having people care if they hear somebody's sick or that sort of thing. I like that.
You seem like someone who doesn't do nothing very well.
No, I don't. I never have.
The year that you spent kind of in transition, did you just get tired of not having...
Well, I knitted 5 Afghans, and I renovated the house, and I don't know, I collected recipes and did some stuff, and I mean, that's fine, but I could do more than that. And I was getting upset if there was a spot on the kitchen floor or whatever, because there wasn't anything else to do. So I decided it was time to get out and start doing things. And, it was, I think, 2006, 2007 when first heard about branding for communities, for destinations. Now, essentially, that's what I did for corporations. I would take a Chinese manufacturing company, maybe it was Hong Kong Chinese manufacturing company that made, I don't know, transistors, and then went into Game Boys, and then went into telephones or whatever, and they were still operating as a little small local company, the owner was still there, and suddenly they've got operations in many countries and billions of dollars in sales, and they're still acting like a little company. So we actually were essentially rebranding them, repositioning them to get them to act and to look like the company that they were. And so for Angels Camp, it's the same thing. Angels Camp has a lot to offer, has a lot going on, but the mentality for many years was, we're just this little old town, and and you can do stuff, but it'll never stick, and and I think there's been a dramatic change in Angels Camp in some ways, in appearances, and in attitude over the last, say, 8 to 10 years, probably helped along by the recession. But I no longer hear the we can't do it, it'll never happen. I hear more of we can do it, and that's what makes things happen.
When you're marketing or rebranding or making that transition, I just wonder if this holds true. When people talk about trying to be confident, one common piece of advice that I've heard is fake it till you make it. Act confident until people believe you are confident and treat you as though you're a confident person. Then all of a sudden you are a confident person.
I've not heard that, but I've heard first you act and then you become. So I used to tell my children that, if you act like you know what you're doing, pretty soon people will think that you do. And when we were working with companies, we used to talk about the say, the look, and the do. So what you say about yourself and what others say about you. That's your word-of-mouth marketing and the media and that. The look, how you look. And for many of the companies that I worked with, they looked like, I used to say, cheap and cheerful Chinese companies. They weren't up to international standards, even though they were an international company. So the look changes things, even makes people inside the company feel different if the place looks spiffy and that sort of thing. And the other is the do, and the do is the most important, because you can say wonderful things and put out ads all over, but if you don't deliver on the promise. So we used to work on getting the employees and the products and all the other things to work well while we were changing the way the company looked. And then we went out and started talking about how well the company did. Same thing's going on in Angels Camp. We said base camp for the Sierra. Can we actually go out and market us as that? And at first people were saying, oh, we better not do anything or say anything for a while, because we really. And then we started realizing that we've got over 400 hotel rooms in Angels Camp with the Worldmark, and we've now got Travelodge and Best Western. So we've got name brands and small and B&Bs and all that. So we've got the base camp, the place where people can stay. We have a lot of restaurants in Angels Camp. They may not all be high-end, but for travelers, they want the McDonald's and the round table pizza and a quick Mexican, dinner and stuff. They tend not to eat 7 days a week in an expensive restaurant. So we realized, hey, we have a lot of the base camp, and what we need now is the quirky shops and the entertainment, and we're working on that. So we're doing it. We're getting there.
Quirky shops and entertainment. Give me some examples. What would you like to see?
Well, we would like to see more shops that cater both to residents and visitors, because a shop can't make it if it's only selling to visitors on the weekends. So, but interesting, clothing and shoe shops. You could have, we really could have a kitchen shop in Angels Camp. You could have crafts, other kinds of things that people tend to buy when they're traveling. Household decorative items, sporting goods. I mean, in some towns in the downtown, like Placerville, you have an old hardware store, and visitors will go in there and browse for hours. I mean, they're not going to take a saw home, but they will spend time in that. So it's interesting shops that serve both the community and visitors. Entertainment, we'd like to see more stores open after 6 o'clock, because that's when you're going on a vacation, you tend to do that. You'll do it before dinner or after dinner. We'd like to see music in the restaurants, having them stay open. And that's happening because Sidewinders is now having music. They're staying open later. And we have some other things that will be going on soon downtown. So we're getting there.
And as part of that, I'm just going to hold this up. There's this flyer this is pretty much brand new, right? Mm-hmm. Last week. On here are all kinds of ideas for businesses who might want to come here. Right. And kind of encouraging them and selling it and branding it as this base camp. And so, can you tell me, did you develop this? Or? Yes,
Destination Development put this together, Destination Angels Camp. Two of us represented Destination Angels Camp in a massive convention, conference, and exhibition in Las Vegas this past weekend. Started Sunday, we came home yesterday, called the Recon, and it's put on by the International Council of Shopping Centers. And so this was 34,000 attendees, 10 times the size of Angels Camp. It's a bit intimidating. And, but they were developers, property owners, finance people, and all of the name brands. So everything from Quiznos and the pretzels and Cinnabon and McDonald's to Target and Walmart and, Chase Bank and Visa and AT&T and Verizon. All these, they were looking for developers or shopping center owners to come and woo them. The shopping center owners were trying to woo other people, and it was just an amazing event, and we learned a lot. We went to learn. None of us has ever done any of this before, and we really learned that we need lots of statistics, because those decisions on where to locate stores or shops or restaurants or that sort of thing are all based on very solid statistics. So we've got some of that, and we're going to be doing more of that.
What are some specific things that a developer or business owner might be looking for?
They're looking for sales per square foot. That's the big thing we learned, especially since the recession. So you've seen a lot of the stores in malls downsize because from the shareholders' point of view, they're looking for sales per square foot. They want to know the demographics, the types of people that drive by the shopping center. What hours do they go by? Are they commuting? Are they doing this or doing that? What are the psychographics of those people in terms of would they stop to get away from traffic? Do they buy sporting goods versus, I don't know, hardware or plumbing supplies or whatever? How old are they? How many children, you know, what magazines do they read? All these sorts of things tell them whether those people in our area are likely to be solid customers for that shop or to eat there or do that. They want traffic counts by the hour. And they also want to know who's in those cars and how many of them and where are they going. And it just goes on and on. It was very interesting. And if you don't have it, you know, I mean, we're a small town, we're a rural area, but we do have a lot to offer in terms of the 4 and 49 intersection, the fact that this is a very poorly served area, that a lot of our sales are outside of our trade area, so if we could pull them in with good stores and a variety, it should be good. But we're learning.
All these statistics, if a business didn't have a group like yours to tell them what these were, then they would have to come in and do the studies themselves, and that's kind of not something that they're going to do.
Because there are way too many shopping centers, regional areas, you know, districts and cities, towns that are out. I mean, they're armed with this stuff, and they are recruiting like mad. So it's really the store's heyday in terms of they make their own very careful decisions, and they've all learned a lot during the recession. Prior to that, they were like dots on a map. Let's just get a store here and a store there, and they cannibalized themselves too. So they're not doing that anymore. It's a really tough market.
Who's going to, or are you going to go and get these stats? Well,
we have an application in for a grant. In 2010, the city contracted with a company called Buxton Company out of Texas that does this type of analytics based on credit card sales that are and ATM and bank card sales that are tied back to the zip codes in our drive time. So we had that, but we need to update it. We have all the psychographics of the types of people that live in this area and which magazines and all that, but it's 3 years old now. And we did not get any statistics on our visitors to the county and second homeowners who, you know, also buy here. We have to get a bit of different data, but we've put in for a grant that hopefully we'll be able to add the visitors and the second home owners and update our current resident statistics.
So this is in process?
It's in process if we get the grant, it's in process.
If the grant happens. And I just think it's so neat. I mean, just looking from the outside in, that this group, Destination Angels Camp, has come together to do something that I don't think anybody else would have done, and go out and fight for Angels Camp as a destination. That's really quite impressive. There have been lots of different goals that Destination Angels Camp has pursued. But before we get into those, for those who maybe haven't heard of it before, when did it form? What is it? What are the main objectives?
Okay. Destination Angels Camp started as the brand leadership team. It was a committee that was appointed by the mayor back in 2008 to really work on developing Angels Camp as a significant tourist destination, because that's so good for the economy. We already had it, but to really develop it. And then the recession hit the end of 2008, and over the next year or so, we realized that the branding, which concentrated just on the historic downtown, because tourists like a 3-block area that they can walk around in and do things, that Angels Camp needed more than that, and that we needed jobs, good jobs, across a variety of the whole spectrum. And our residents needed places to shop and do things. Oftentimes that wouldn't be quirky little shops downtown. So we then petitioned the City Council to become a public-private partnership with the city to handle their economic development activities, because the city just financially can't go out and hire an experienced economic development person and the staff people and do all the stuff that we're doing. So they agreed to that just a year ago in April. And just last night we gave our first year report to the City Council. The City Council funded us just under $15,000 to get started, and then we had to go out and raise money.
Let's go through some of the report, just because I think it's interesting, and also I find it admirable that you're coming back with numbers, whether it's we didn't quite meet this goal or we far exceeded the goal, because the accountability is important for any organization.
Well, and I have to say that our new city administrator, Michael McHatton, he had all of the members of the various department heads within the city government last year. He put them on accountability-based, solid objectives and accountability for their budget numbers. So they couldn't just say we're going to keep going. They had to say we're going to serve this many people. So we had to do the same thing when we applied with our budget last year. And we said the first thing was to try to raise $100,000 in the first year, and starting from zero, which was, but we have raised to date $80,000. We have support from all of the members on our board, and 20 businesses in the Angels Camp area stepped up to pledge at minimum of $1,000 a year for 3 years. Some pledged more, and that's in. And our next step now, and we still have 6 weeks left in this fiscal year, is to begin going out to large companies that have a stake in Angels Camp for significant matching grants to match what we've done. But we built the foundation of that. We've got the support of the community, and now we'd like the support of some of these bigger companies. So that's moving forward. We have an office and administrative assistant that is there part-time, so that was done. And we talked about our third goal was to serve. Well, I back up. We have two prongs of what we're doing. One is we're doing the destination development, which is we're continuing to do the branding for tourism. But we're now, and then the other side is the economic development side. And that has two branches, and one is to retain the current businesses and help them expand and grow. So that's the key thing, because if we start losing businesses, we could be out recruiting. It's just a cycle. So to work with the existing businesses, and we have pretty much fulfilled our goals, our key objectives. We've done workshops, and we do these grand opening ceremonies and all sorts of other things that we help existing businesses with. And then the other side was the attraction and recruitment of new businesses. And that's coming along very well too, I'm happy to say.
Excellent. I want to pose a question that I'm assuming you probably get a lot, but I want to say Murphy's and Angels Camp are very close. Mm-hmm. And yet it seems like Murphy's the big dog on the block, and Angels Camp is kind of like the forgotten stray at times. And I don't mean to be too harsh there, but it almost seems like Murphy's it just happens. You don't even have to work for it. You just go there, and the people are there. They're coming there. It has that 3-block cool downtown. It has the restaurants. It has the shops, the quirky shops. It doesn't have maybe the big stores. But for me, putting myself in your shoes, it seems like, gosh, I'm kind of fighting an uphill battle here. So where do you fall on that? Well,
Murphy's 10 years ago was not Murphy's today.
That's right.
And Murphy's had the advantage of Ironstone, John Couts at Ironstone, and some of the others, Bard and Steveno and others, who got in there in the early 2000s and really promoted the town because it was good for their business, and slowly but surely it built up. I mean, even 5 years ago, they didn't have the restaurants and the shops that they have now. Excuse me. But and they have a real special niche, and they are a big draw. And because of the whole winery and just the atmosphere, the fact that all the wine tasting rooms are on Main Street, and they're beginning to get the restaurants, and some of them are staying open late, and they've got music, so they're moving, but their niche and their draw is the wine and the food culture. You've got spices and olive oil and all those other things at the kitchen shop that is really the foodie wine, so that's different. But we know that visitors, no matter what they go for, if they go to Ashland because it's the Shakespeare Theater, they don't spend all their time going to Shakespeare. They shop, they eat, they might go rafting, they might go out into the country. So visitors who go to Murphy's need to do other things, and they'll probably do some of the outdoor things. They might go to the caverns, they might go up to Bear Valley, and they probably play golf. So those are the things that we want them to stay in Angels Camp, maybe come back and eat a few of the meals in Angels Camp, but we don't have the caverns, the skiing, and everything right in the middle of town. So that's the whole base camp idea. We want them to come here, and they do. The World Mark Timeshare Resort, it's part of the Wyndham Group, that's one of their busiest sites in the country because there's so much to do here. So they're staying in Angels Camp. What we want them now to do is come back and eat and spend and shop in our shops and things. But they'll go for wine tasting. They do all these things here.
So we have a minute left.
Yes.
What's going to happen with Angels Camp in 10 years?
Oh, I think that I hope that you will see just a really interesting old gold rush town that's bustling, that when you drive through on 49, you go, hey, we really have to stop here. Look at this place. Isn't that a cute road? Let's go in. That we will have some major sporting events that take place here, so that we are beginning to foster that. We'll have an Angels Creek trail, walking and hiking and biking trail that'll stretch from through Angels Camp all the way down to New Maloney's, which will be great. We should have good signage, and I think we'll see high-tech and other light manufacturing jobs here to support the graduates. I hope that we'll see a branch of Columbia College in Angels Camp. We need that. Very, very important for job opportunities. And that we will see what we're calling Angel Oaks development area, which is at 4 and 49, right near Frog Jump Plaza with where McDonald's and everybody is. We'll see that in the process of being developed into a mixed-use community.
If people want to find out more, who do they call? Where do they go?
They can call me at 736-0088. And or go, our website is still in production, but they can go to that and get some of the numbers and everything, which is Angels Camp, destinationangelscamp.com.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me on this edition of Inside View, and I hope to see you right here next time.